There are two kinds of salespeople in this world. The first one says, buy now. Offer expires in 7 minutes, 13 seconds, and if you blink, your grandchildren may never recover. The second one says, let's slow down. What problem are you actually trying to solve? One sounds like a fire alarm wearing cologne. The other sounds like a trusted guide. And in the short term, the fire alarm sometimes wins. But in the long term, the guide builds empires. Tonight, we are going into the ancient battlefield of persuasion itself, where pressure fights trust, where urgency fights understanding, where quick commissions duel with lifetime customer value. And by the end of this story, you'll know why high-pressure sales may grab the wallet, but consultative sales wins the future. The old kingdom of pressure. Let's begin where human selling truly began, the marketplace. Dust in the air, coins clinking, merchants yelling. Somebody is definitely lying about the freshness of that fish. High-pressure selling is not new. It is ancient. It runs on a few core weapons. Scarcity, only 2 left. Urgency, this deal ends tonight. Fear, if you don't act now, you lose. Social pressure, everyone is buying this. Emotional overload, confuse them, rush them, close them. And let's be honest, this works, sometimes. Because under pressure, the human brain is not always thoughtful. It is often reactive. It wants relief. It wants certainty. It wants the discomfort to end. That's why some people buy things they never planned to buy, then later sit in silence staring at the receipt like it contains a prophecy of regret. But here's the trap. A pressured yes is often not a true yes. It's just the fastest escape route. Research on psychological reactance, a well-established concept in consumer behavior, shows that when people feel their freedom is being threatened, they often resist, withdraw, or resent the attempt to control them. In other words, push too hard and the buyer's inner rebel wakes up. So yes, pressure can create action, but it can also create backlash, and backlash is expensive. The secret cost of winning the sale. This is where many salespeople get fooled. They think the sale is the finish line. It is not. The sale is the beginning of the audit, because after the adrenaline fades, the buyer asks the real questions. Did I need this? Did I understand this? Did I get manipulated? Do I trust this company? Will I ever come back? High-pressure sales can boost short-term conversions, but short-term conversion is not the same as long-term business health. A business is not built on one dramatic close. It is built on repeat purchases, referrals, renewals, reputation, retention, reduced refund friction, and customer trust that compounds over time. And trust matters because customers do not merely buy products, they transmit confidence. Nielsen has repeatedly found that recommendations from people someone knows are among the most trusted forms of influence. That means the real growth engine is not just the sale, it's the story the customer tells afterward. If the story is, they pressured me into it, you may have won the transaction and poisoned the next 10. If the story is, they listened, they understood me, they helped me choose right. Now you've built something far more dangerous than a discount. You've built advocacy. Enter the consultative seller. Now let the smoke clear, because here comes the other approach, consultative sales. This is not selling by ambush, this is selling by diagnosis. The consultative seller does not begin with, here's my product. They begin with, here's my question. They ask, what are you trying to achieve? What's not working right now? What have you already tried? What's the real cost of this problem? What would a successful outcome look like? That is not weakness, that is precision. Consultative selling is fundamentally about understanding needs, creating value, and building trust before presenting a solution. Even mainstream sales frameworks define it this way: relationship first, solution second. And that changes everything. Because when a buyer feels understood, something powerful happens. Their defenses lower, their honesty increases, their clarity improves, and the sales conversation stops feeling like combat. It becomes collaboration. The consultative seller is no longer a persuader. They become a translator between pain and solution. And customers remember that. People forget pitches. They remember how safe they felt making the decision. Why pressure looks strong but is often weak. Here's the great illusion. High-pressure sales look strong. It is loud, fast, confident, aggressive, performative. But often, pressure is what a salesperson uses when they cannot create enough genuine value. Pressure is frequently compensation for weak positioning. If the offer is truly right, if the problem is real, if the solution fits, if the trust is present, you don't need to drag the buyer to the finish line like a hostage in a motivational seminar. Consultative selling, on the other hand, can look slower, but slower is not weaker. A surgeon looks slower than a butcher. Only one gets invited back. The consultative process may take longer up front, but it improves fit. Better fit means fewer bad deals, stronger retention, better customer experience, and more durable revenue over time. HBR has long emphasized the economic value of building customer relationships that last, rather than treating every sale as a disconnected event. That is the difference between harvesting crops and salting the field. The psychology of the buyer. Let's go deeper, into the mind. A buyer under pressure often enters a narrowed mental state. They are not exploring, they are escaping. Their brain starts prioritizing avoiding loss, ending discomfort, reducing uncertainty, getting out of the conversation. That may produce a yes, but it often produces a fragile yes. A consultative environment does the opposite. It creates psychological safety, clarity, agency, and confidence. And agency matters because people support what they help choose. When the buyer feels ownership of the decision, the product feels less imposed and more aligned. That means less buyer's remorse, less defensiveness, less churn, and more commitment. In plain language, people fight what is pushed on them. They protect what they believe they chose. That's not just sales, that's human nature. Also, let's be honest, nobody enjoys being hunted in a Blazer showroom, a WhatsApp funnel, or a 14-part exclusive offer that somehow resets tomorrow. If your limited-time offer has been ending for 6 months, that is not urgency, that is reincarnation. Short-term hunter versus long-term builder. Here's the real dividing line. High-pressure sales is optimized for the immediate close. Consultative sales is optimized for the lifetime relationship. One asks, how do I get this deal? The other asks, how do I become the obvious choice again and again? That one difference changes the whole business model. Because when you sell consultatively, you gain richer customer insight, better product market feedback, stronger positioning, stronger trust, stronger referral loops, and a brand people associate with competence instead of coercion. That is not just sales success, that is strategic advantage. Pressure extracts value, consultation creates it. Pressure burns through attention, consultation earns mindshare. Pressure may spike numbers, consultation compounds them. And the businesses that dominate decades are rarely the ones that mastered panic. They are the ones that mastered trust. Does this mean urgency is bad? Now, let's be fair. This is not a sermon against all urgency. Urgency has a place. Deadlines can help people act. Scarcity can be real. Clear calls to action matter. But ethical urgency is not the same as manipulative pressure. There's a massive difference between enrollment closes Friday because onboarding begins Monday, and if you don't buy in the next 11 minutes, your destiny may file for bankruptcy. One informs, the other performs.
Good sales helps people decide. Bad sales corners people into surrender. Consultative sellers can absolutely be persuasive. They can lead, challenge, recommend, and close strongly, but they do it from truth, not theater, from fit, not force, from clarity, not confusion. That's the key. Consultative selling is not passive. It is disciplined persuasion built on understanding. The long-term winner. So who wins? If the game is, can I force a few quick decisions this week, high-pressure tactics may steal some victories. But if the game is, can I build a reputation, a loyal customer base, a resilient business, and predictable long-term growth, then consultative sales wins, again and again.
And eventually by a landslide. Because the future belongs to sellers who can do three things. Understand the buyer better than the buyer understands the problem. Recommend the right solution with honesty. Build trust that survives after the payment clears. That seller doesn't just close deals. That seller becomes the standard. And in a world drowning in noise, manipulation, fake urgency, and transactional hustle, the calm expert becomes magnetic. Moral, charge, CTA. High-pressure sales can make you money fast. Consultative sales can make you trust, loyalty, referrals, reputation, and money that lasts. One chases buyers, the other attracts them. One treats customers like targets, the other treats them like people. And in the long arc of business, where brands rise, fall, and are remembered not by their slogans, but by the feeling they leave behind, the long-term winner is not the loudest closer, it is the one who listens best. So if you sell anything, a product, a service, an idea, a mission, don't just ask, how do I get the yes? Ask, how do I deserve it? Because the strongest sale is not the one you force today, it's the one they thank you for tomorrow.